Let me first introduce myself. I'm Steve Westlake. I'm Managing Director of Coborn Engineering. I'm sorry I didn't dress up in a suit and tie, but I've just come straight from work and we're actually very busy at the moment. And I had to come straight from here to straight off the shop floor. I actually was an apprentice. I started at Davy back in 1978 and I did my apprenticeship with them, and I also went through university. So I've benefited from doing an apprenticeship. I'm here today to really talk about Coborn Engineering and the value of apprenticeships to Coborn Engineering. But I thought I'd start off, and I think everyone's heard the cliche, but the youth of today are our future. Some of us might not like it, but it's a fact. And as an employee, it's important the youth, the young people within the company are the future of that company. But if you extend it outside of Coborn or any company, the youth of today is the future of our country. And it's down to us as employees, in education, to give them the opportunity. If we don't train them, we're not going to have a future as a country, let alone as a company. So we're very fortunate in this country that the education system is as good as it is and as supportive as it is. One of the things that's happened, a terrible thing that's happened in this country over the last 20, 30 years is the decline in engineering. I'm in the engineering sector and I want to see British engineering get back to where it used to be and where it should be. You know, I travel the world for my company and there is still a great respect for British engineering. But as most people know, the engineering and manufacturing sector in England has declined. Basically, without the financial and tourist sectors, we really would be struggling as a country. And the strong economies in the world have a strong engineering base. We need to get back to that. We need to encourage people to come into engineering, and apprenticeships is a very strong way of doing that. And I know finally the government are encouraging these types of schemes, which is one of the reasons I spend my time at events like this, and I also tomorrow I'm going to make a presentation to some school children because I want to encourage people to come into engineering. So Coborn Engineering is a remarkable little company. It's been here in Romford since 1942. Very few people have heard about us, and that's primarily because the owner of the company, John Innocent, who's run it for 50 years, has done everything on his own and has not publicised Coborn as a company. It was started by Sam Innocent in 1940. He was an expert in balancing, and he actually helped the British war effort by balancing the Spitfire engines to make them improve their performance by 10–15% so that they were competitive. So in many ways, Sam and Coborn had a major impact on our war effort and where we are today. So, right, the right button. So our expertise was in balancing machines, and then we started making machines for polishing gem diamonds. So I tell everybody that we make machines that grind diamonds, and I get lots of friends, especially the females, who think that I'm carrying diamonds around in my pocket. Unfortunately, that's not true. We make machines that grind diamonds, but I would say that most valuable diamonds are ground on a Coborn machine. In the 40s, 50s and 60s, we were travelling to Antwerp and Amsterdam on a regular basis, sending our machines over there for the gem polishers. And then in 1979, De Beers and General Electric developed a material called polycrystalline diamond, which is using the diamond dust, but nobody had a machine that could grind and process that material. So we developed that machine. And since the 80s, we've been building these machines here in Coborn. We're actually one of 3, maybe 4 companies in the world that make these machines. Coming back to why I'm here today to talk about apprentices. We currently employ 58 people, 8 of them are apprentices. So that's a very high percentage, and they are very critical to our current output, but also our future. When I first came, and this is important for every company to really analyse and understand. When I joined Coborn, I said to John, the current owner, the key aspects I'm looking for and important for any business is management of the money and management of the people. He said the finance management's perfect because he does it, and HR management, well, he didn't really understand that. And that's one of the problems we've got, is we've got a big group of people here around the 50 bracket, and 4 years ago we didn't have very many people around the 20-year-old bracket. So we had taken people on direct from school and they'd a company, but we went through a long period of time where we weren't taking apprentices on. So we were going to end up in 10, 15 years' time with a big shortfall, because we need to keep bringing those skills on and encouraging those people. Yes, it's all very well to do an engineering degree, but they're not going to teach you the skills that we need within Coborn. Any degree is, by its nature, generic. I believe strongly in the importance of taking those disciplines, but the apprenticeship gets you exposed to the company's specific processes at a very early age. And as Nigel said earlier, that creates a strong bond. It adds value to the company, and it also links them to the company, because if they've got skills that are really related to Coborn, one, it adds value to Coborn, but two, it makes it quite difficult for them to leave Coborn, because ours is such a specific business and they get tied in. So we tie people in at an early age. The other thing we've got is the service profile. One of my the presentation I've got tomorrow is about recruitment and retainment. You can see we've got a very high level of service within the company. So we do look to retain people. Those are our machines, which are very specific to grinding diamonds. I won't go through them and the purpose of them. So this year, one of our apprentices was the Havering Apprentice of the Year, Darren, and there's a video from Darren in a minute. But also, we were also honoured to win the award from Havering College as the Employer of the Year for the engineering sector. Edge over other companies. As I said earlier, the apprentices learn so much about your company. You bring them in at an early age. They're adding value almost immediately. We bring apprentices in and we've got milling machines and turning, and within the first week or so, they are producing products that go into our machines. So immediately they're adding value. And that obviously gives us an edge. We're paying these people relatively good money. We pay our apprenticeships in the first year £5, £6 an hour, and we've also got a bonus scheme at the moment, so they get 10% on that. So they're earning £6, £7 an hour, and they're working 40 hours, 50 hours a week, so they're earning £300 a week. But they are adding value immediately. So companies that aren't bringing apprenticeships in are missing that opportunity. More output per employee. Again, we're getting the output from the apprentices, but they're also supporting all our other staff. They're taking away a lot of the menial tasks from the more highly skilled millers and turners. So they're able to do the more complex tasks and create more value for us as a company. Less staff turnover. I talked about that earlier in my presentation. The staff turnover at Coborn is minimal, and it does tie them in. They have an innate knowledge and understanding of the Coborn business. We obviously have a responsibility for creating an environment in which they want to stay within Coborn, but by the nature of it, they get tied into Coborn, and it's very difficult for them to leave. Cheaper or less training in-house. You cannot get this type of bespoke, specialised training outside of Coborn. Yes, you can go to college and you can be taught turning, milling, but you won't have any similarities on machine assemblies. So you can do your training externally within an academic environment, but even after that, and yes, you will know how to use a machine, you will still have to go through this basic level of training to understand our products and our processes. So it's saved us money as well, because it gets us people in, adding value, producing products immediately. Retain staff and loyalty, same thing. Apprenticeships meet company needs. That's down to you to create the environment, to structure the apprenticeship program. We're not a large company. We haven't got a very large HR department. We haven't got bespoke training programs for the individuals. The individuals go straight on the shop floor, work for supervisors, and immediately put on jobs that are sold in the machines. We haven't got the facility or the freedom to get someone to make 10 parts that we can scrap. We've got to use those parts immediately. So for us as a company, apprenticeships are our future. We need them now desperately. They add value, but they also create the environment. There's nothing better than youth. I think anyone that watches football, Capello said yesterday, the young people within the England team creates competition. You bring these people in, and all of a sudden the senior people realise that within 3 or 4 years these guys are going to be wanting their jobs. So it creates competition. So apprenticeships to Coborn are absolutely critical. Apprenticeships to this country are absolutely critical. We need to encourage people to come into engineering, and we need to develop our youth. Any questions?
I think this talk comes right from the heart of experience, and from that experience, if I can just ask you one important area. Acting as a devil's advocate, what problems did you have with apprentices, and how did you resolve them?
We have many problems with apprentices. Drugs, alcohol, timekeeping, and how do you resolve them? It's the same thing. The hardest thing in any business is managing the people, and you've got to get them in, and they've got to understand this is an opportunity. You're creating an opportunity. You've got the environment. It's down to them. You can bring them to water, but you can't make them drink. So you've got to explain to them in kind, motivational, or very hard, aggressive. You've got to. It's all those different management skills. Do you hit them with a stick, or do you encourage them with extra money? So you've got to balance that depending on the individual, the maturity of that individual. But at the end of the day, he's got to understand this is an opportunity for life. And there's a big step coming from an educational environment to a working environment. An educational environment is relatively false. You're still at home. There's a lot of security. And these guys, girls and guys, they're coming out, and this is breaking out into the real world. So you've got to be supportive, but as a business manager, I've also got to be making money. I can't afford to keep these people and know in my heart of hearts that they're never going to make it. So it comes a time you've got to make that tough decision. Say, sorry, you're going to leave. Now, in this environment, you've got one of the benefits of apprenticeships is that you've got a little bit of time to do that, because at the end of the apprenticeship, or even somewhere through the apprenticeship, you can stop it. You have a lot more control in employing apprentices than you do recruiting full time. Because of the employment laws in this country, to get rid of someone is very difficult. But apprenticeships, there's a little bit more freedom. So you can sit there and say, sorry, we're not going to carry you on. Well, obviously, most of our apprenticeships go to Havering College, and if they don't meet their academic requirements as well, we can say, look, if you don't pass your exams, we're not going to carry you on for the next year. So, as an employer, you do have the big stick. But is that what you want to use all the time? The other thing we do, we give our apprenticeships every 4 months, we give them a pay rise. And again, there's that. So some people don't get any pay rise. They see their colleague that joined at the same time, all of a sudden he's earning £1 an hour more. So you've got little different opportunities to motivate. But you know, you can motivate many people, but there's occasionally that one person that whatever you do, you cuddle him, you kick him, it's not going to change. And then you've got to make the decision, sorry, because this is a cruel world, you've got to go.
I think I had very good experience with apprentices, and one of them had been promoted to a higher salary. And I felt that we can't treat them as employees. We have to be a bit more affectionate. I'm raising this question because there are a lot of prospective employers sitting here who can employ apprentices for their businesses. They see benefit in that. At the same time, we need to remember that they are just out of their education. We have to be a bit more sympathetic to them. And this message, especially for those young people sitting out there who could be potential apprentices, that they have to bear the responsibility. They just can't take it as a kind of taken for granted. It has to be an opportunity for life, as you quoted and the previous speakers did.
Yeah, I was at the Havering College, and Steve Cram made a presentation, and he was talking about setting goals. As an athlete, it's quantitative. You know, I lost that race, I've got to get 2 more seconds or whatever. But it's exactly the same in life, in employment. So you've got to try to encourage, cajole, motivate, bribe, but you've also you've got to keep raising the bar, and you've got to keep pushing these people. So you've got to create that environment. If it's like anybody, if you're going to a job and you're doing the same thing every day, and you go, well, I'm not enjoying this. There's no future. So as an employer, you've got to create that opportunity. They've got to believe there's a future. So that's, as I said, I'm very passionate about the youth in this country. I've got a very small opportunity at Coborn with 8 apprentices, although there's 4 or 5 now that have gone through that apprenticeship. So we've got 25% of the company in the last 6 years that we've got mainly from Havering College that we're pushing through that. But it doesn't finish when they finish their apprenticeship. Now, I want them to grow. I want them to want to become business managers and ultimately to take my job. And it's down to me as a business manager to create that environment.